everyone, and welcome to Barnett's web seminar on the monitoring of oncology clinical trials. The field of oncology research, as many of you may know, has experienced tremendous growth, particularly in the past decade or so, and I think representing more like 36% now of agents that are currently in development. This increase in trials has certainly led to a growing demand for CRAs in the oncology field or arena, and we've designed this course to provide you with an overview of what we consider to be oncology-specific logistical, clinical, and ethical considerations. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I've been in clinical research for approximately 30 years and multiple clinical therapeutic areas, including oncology, for more than a third of my career. I've been both at the level of research management at the site and at the level of monitoring as a CRA in oncology clinical trials. So I hope to share and help meet our objectives with both best practice and what we know works most effectively in the field, as well as sharing some anecdotal observations that I have had that may be helpful. So let's get started. Let's first talk about the learning objectives for the course today. We want to identify ways in which oncology clinical trials actually differ from those in other therapeutic areas, identify the differences between monitoring oncology early phase clinical trials versus later phase clinical trials, and describe the complexities of adverse event and serious adverse event monitoring in oncology clinical trials. Utilize the common terminology criteria for adverse events, or CTCAE grading, and apply CTCAE to AE source data. And finally, address the common challenges in monitoring and apply tools and techniques to overcome some of these challenges. So at the end of today's session, you should be able to apply this knowledge that you've learned to monitoring tasks, but specifically for studies in the oncology therapeutic area. We welcome everyone's participation today. In order to maximize the value of today's web seminar, feel welcome to interrupt me at any time that you have a question or a comment. You can do that either, as Elizabeth mentioned, by using the raised hand function or sending in a question via the chat function. And there will be opportunities during our time together where I will ask true or false or multiple choice questions and use the web response buttons. As noted on this slide, the arrow bullet in the dark red font present on the slide indicates a monitoring tip that is specific to our content under discussion. And these will represent ways that you can identify potential risk or prevent their occurrence, or as the case may be, recurrence, and ways in which we can work smarter, not harder. So let's get started with the core objectives. First, it is important for us to understand that core GCP requirements do not differ between oncology trials and those in other therapeutic areas. The requirements for informed consent, for the protection of research subjects, appropriate investigator selection, and assurance of investigator responsibilities being adhered to as detailed in the FDA 1572 still apply equally to oncology trials. Investigators are required to maintain control of the investigational products, and sponsors have standard responsibilities for providing that information about the use and storage of IP, just as they do in other trials. Finally, oncology clinical trials must be managed and conducted by qualified individuals. I cannot emphasize that point strongly enough. And working within systems that are designed to ensure quality. That includes sponsors determining the appropriate extent and nature of the monitoring that will be required. For example, determining how much on-site versus remote monitoring might be appropriate for a specific trial, determining the intervals for monitoring according to the monitoring plan, and then selecting and training monitors. So none of these requirements that we've discussed differ in oncology trials, but how they are satisfied may be different than what you're used to if you've worked in other therapeutic areas. It's important to understand that as a monitor, when I visit with a PI, I first explain to that PI that my job as a CRA is to make sure that the PI is inspection ready at all times. And my focus is pivotal to three things when I am working on that end: patient safety, data integrity, and regulatory compliance. It's important that the PI understand that everything we do will focus from that direction of those three pivotal actions.